For 3 years, I built my life around silence. The kind that hums in the background when the city sleeps. The kind that's safe, predictable, and painfully empty. My mornings start with the sound of tiny feet running down the hallway, the soft patter that always comes before the words, I'm hungry. That's my son Un. 3 years old, bright-eyed, and full of questions I can barely keep up with. I never planned on becoming a single parent. I never planned on raising a child alone in a one-bedroom apartment tucked behind the narrow streets of Mapogu. But life has a way of forcing you to grow stronger when you have no choice. My name is Han Jae-min, and I am an Omega, a fact I used to hate, until Unwoo was born. Our days are small and ordinary. I work from home, designing children's books for an indie publisher. My world is colored in soft blues and gentle browns, paper, crayons, warm porridge, bedtime stories, lullabies. Every corner of this apartment carries traces of my careful routine. There are no surprises here. No unwanted messages. No past. Except for one thing. In my phone, hidden under a sea of folders, there's a contact named Do Not Answer. It used to be Kang Do-hyun. My breath still catches when I think of that name. Do-hyun was everything I thought I wanted. Confident, calm, strong, and devastatingly handsome. He was the kind of alpha who filled a room without saying a word. And when he loved you, you felt it in every heartbeat. Until the day he didn't. Until the day his family tore us apart. I tried deleting his number so many times. But I never did. Maybe some foolish part of me believed he might call one day, say sorry, or explain. But he never did. So I left the city, moved across Seoul, and learned to live quietly with the secret he never knew, that he had a son. It was a lazy Sunday afternoon when everything changed. The kind of day when the air feels soft and slow, sunlight spilling across the floor. Unwoo was sitting on the rug, surrounded by his toy cars, while I tried to finish a sketch deadline. I remember thinking how peaceful it all felt. How perfect, even. Then I heard his giggle. I turned my head just in time to see him holding my phone. Unwoo, baby, what are you doing with that? I asked gently, stretching an arm out. He smiled, mischievous, his tiny thumb pressing random icons. I send daddy. I froze. What poo? Before I could reach him, a soft beep echoed. My blood went cold. I snatched the phone, eyes darting to the screen. A glowing blue bubble hovered over a familiar name. Do not answer. The voice note had already been sent. I tapped it open, heart pounding. Daddy, come home. That was it. Just 4 words, in Yunwoo's sweet voice. But my entire world tilted. I stared at the message, my chest tightening so hard it hurt to breathe. I pressed delete, but it was too late. The note had already been delivered, double-ticked, read. My hands trembled. No, this can't be happening. Unwoo blinked up at me, confused by my reaction. Yama, daddy come? I forced a smile that didn't reach my eyes. No, sweetheart. That was just pretend. But deep down I knew, pretend or not, fate had just decided to drag me back into the one story I thought I'd escaped. Hours passed. I tried to convince myself nothing would happen. Maybe he changed his number. Maybe he'd ignore it. Maybe he forgot me completely. But when the clock struck 7, I heard it, the sound of tires crunching over the gravel outside my apartment. My heart stuttered. Through the window, I caught the gleam of a black luxury sedan parked by the curb. Seoul's evening rain glistened on its surface like liquid glass. Then a tall figure stepped out. Even through the drizzle, I knew that silhouette. My pulse pounded in my ears as I rushed to the door, pressing my back against it as if that could hold time still. I didn't want this. Not now. Not ever. But then 2 quiet taps. I exhaled shakily and opened the door. And there he was. Kang Do-hyun. He looked almost exactly as I remembered. Sharp jaw, storm-dark eyes, the same calm authority that made people turn when he walked by. But something had changed. The control was gone from his face. His expression was raw, eyes wide and trembling. Jin, his voice cracked, the first time I'd ever heard it break. Is it true? For a second, I couldn't move. Couldn't speak. Rain dripped from his hair, soaking his coat. He looked like a man who'd driven through a storm without stopping, who'd been running not from weather, but from regret. I tried to close the door, but his hand caught it gently. Please. Tell me. Behind me, Eunwoo peeked from the hallway, clutching his toy. Yama, who is that? Do-hyun's gaze followed the small voice. His breath caught when he saw the boy. And I watched the realization dawn in his eyes. Confusion first, then shock, then something that shattered every wall I'd built. Is that? I swallowed hard. Don't say it. He looked back at me, eyes full of pain. You have a child? Yes. And you didn't tell me? I felt the words burn my throat. You lost the right to know 3 years ago. For a heartbeat, silence stretched between us, thick, suffocating, heavy with everything we never said. Do-hyun's fingers trembled as he ran them through his hair. I was told you left the country. That you, he stopped, his voice breaking again. That you didn't want me. I bit my lip, fighting the sting of tears. And you believed that? He stared at me, and for a fleeting moment, I saw the man who once looked at me like I was his whole world. The man who used to whisper, "You're my home." Now he stood on my doorstep, drenched, broken, staring at the sun he never knew existed. Eunwoo tilted his head innocently. That man looks like me. Do-hyun's breath hitched. My heart twisted painfully, torn between love and fury, past and present. For 3 years, I had built walls high enough to keep him out, but one small voice note had brought him back. And as I stood there, holding the door between us, I realized that nothing, not time, not pride, not fear, could erase what fate had written. Because the man who broke me was standing here again, trembling, desperate, and for the first time since he left, I saw it, the same longing that had never really gone away. And maybe, just maybe, neither had mine. The rain didn't stop that night. It poured harder, loud enough to drown out my heartbeat, but not the storm inside me. After that unexpected reunion at my doorstep, I had no idea what to do with Kang Do-hyun standing in my living room, dripping rainwater on the floor like a ghost that refused to fade away. He hadn't said a word since I let him in. He just stood there, his sharp eyes tracing every detail of the small apartment, the toys scattered on the floor, the half-drawn pictures on the fridge, the folded baby blanket on the couch. Then his gaze landed on Eunwoo's framed photo by the television, my son's bright smile frozen in time. Do-hyun picked it up slowly. His fingers trembled as he brushed the glass, eyes softening and breaking all at once. He looks just like me, he whispered. My throat tightened. I didn't want to answer. Didn't want to see that raw emotion in his face. But he turned to me, and the quiet shattered. Why didn't you tell me I had a son? His voice thundered through the small room. It wasn't loud, but it hit me harder than any scream could. I flinched. The words carried years of pain, anger, and disbelief. I didn't owe you anything, I said, trying to sound calm, but my voice shook anyway. He stepped closer, eyes burning. Not owe me? He's my son, Jimin. My blood. You had no right to hide him from me. I wanted to shout back. To tell him that he lost that right when he walked away. That he left me standing under the same rain 3 years ago, clutching a heart he didn't want. But before I could speak, memories came flooding back, sharp and vivid, like lightning flashing across a dark sky. Flashback. 3 years ago, I was a university student studying literature, quiet, poor, and completely lost in my dreams. Do-hyun was the opposite. The heir to the Kang Group, one of Korea's most powerful business empires. Cold, reserved, and frighteningly disciplined. We met by accident in the university library. I was struggling to reach a book on the top shelf, and he had simply reached over me to get it. That moment, his scent, the brush of his hand, was enough for both of us to know. Fate had bound us. He was my fated alpha, and I was his destined omega. At first, it was beautiful, terrifyingly so. He'd wait for me after classes, bring me coffee, sit quietly beside me while I studied. He never said much, but when he did, it was always gentle. One night, under the cherry blossoms, he told me, I don't believe in fate, but you make me want to. We kept our relationship secret. His family would never have approved of an Omega from an ordinary background. But secrets have a way of rotting in the dark. When his father found out, everything changed. They called me a distraction, a mistake, a threat to the Kang legacy. Do-hyun fought them, at first. He told me we'd run away together, that he'd choose me no matter what. I believed him. But then came the day he didn't show up to our meeting spot. Instead, I got a message. One single text. Don't look for me again. It's over. I remember standing in the rain, reading that message over and over until the screen blurred with tears. I waited for hours, thinking he'd come back. He never did. A week later, I found out I was pregnant. And just like that, my entire world collapsed. Back to present. I blinked away the memory, realizing my hands were shaking. Do-hyun was still standing there, eyes locked on me. You left me, Do-hyun, I whispered. You ended it. You told me never to look for you. His expression twisted with guilt. You don't understand. That's my father to... I don't care what he said, I snapped. My voice broke halfway through. You made that choice. You looked me in the eyes and told me it was over. So I left. I had nothing, Do-hyun. No money, no family, and no one to help me. But I still kept our son alive. Alone. His jaw clenched. For a moment, he looked like he might break something, not out of anger at me, but at himself. He turned away, running a hand over his face. I searched for you, he said quietly. After a while, I tried to find you. But my father told me you'd left the country. He said you didn't want me anymore. I laughed bitterly. And you believed him? Just like that. He looked up, eyes shining with regret. You have no idea what it was like, Jae-min. I spent months trying to forget you, and failing. I thought I was going insane. I thought I'd lost my mate. The word mate cut through me like a blade. I hated that it still had power over me. Before I could answer, a small voice came from the hallway. Yama? We both turned. Eun-woo stood there, rubbing his sleepy eyes, his hair sticking up in every direction. He looked at Do-hyun, then at me. Yama, is that my daddy? The silence that followed was deafening. I froze. Do-hyun's eyes widened. And for the first time since I'd known him, I saw tears fall down his face. He crouched slowly, meeting Eun-woo's gaze at eye level. Yes, he whispered, his voice trembling. I'm your daddy. Eun-woo tilted his head, then smiled, that innocent, disarming smile that had gotten us through every hard day. Daddy, you came home. Something inside me cracked. Do-hyun gathered him gently in his arms. It was awkward at first, his large hands unsure where to hold, his body trembling as if afraid the boy would vanish. But when Eun-woo rested his head on his shoulder, Do-hyun broke completely. I watched, silent, my heart tearing and healing all at once. That moment should have made me happy. It should have been the ending of a fairy tale. But instead, it hurt. Because I knew love alone wasn't enough to fix what had been broken. Do-hyun kissed Eun-woo's forehead, then looked at me. His eyes were red, but there was something fierce in them now, determination, maybe. I'm not leaving again, he said. Not this time. Do-hyun. He stood, still holding our son. You can hate me all you want, Jae-min. You can slam the door in my face, curse me, punish me for everything I did. But I'm not going anywhere. Eun-woo looked up at him sleepily. Promise. Do-hyun smiled through his tears. Promise. As the rain continued to fall outside, I felt something shift inside me, a mix of fear, relief, and longing. Because I knew Kang Do-hyun meant every word. And for the first time since the day he left, I believed him. But believing him meant one terrifying thing, that I might lose myself all over again. Days turned into weeks after that night. Kang Do-hyun didn't leave. He didn't storm out in anger like I expected him to. He didn't send lawyers or make demands. Simply stayed. Quietly. Patiently. Showing up every morning with that same unreadable expression. The one that used to make me melt, and now made my chest ache with confusion. At first, it was awkward. Too quiet. He would knock, greet me with a stiff bow, and ask, "May I see him?" And every time, I wanted to say no. I wanted to keep my distance, to protect the fragile peace I'd built. But when Yunwoo's face lit up and he shouted, "Daddy," before running into Do-hyun's arms, I couldn't bring myself to close the door. So I let him in. And that's how it started. A slow, careful routine that began to feel almost normal. Every morning, Do-hyun would take Eunwoo for a walk to the park down the street. I'd watch them from the window, my little boy holding his father's hand, talking excitedly, pointing at stray cats and butterflies. Sometimes I caught myself smiling. Then I'd shake my head, angry at my own weakness. He was still him, the man who broke me. The man whose silence 3 years ago changed everything. I couldn't just forget that. But Do-hyun was different now. Softer, quieter. His eyes lingered longer on Eunwoo, his tone gentler. When he tucked Eunwoo into bed at night, he read from the same children's book every time, The Little Prince. The same book he once read to me during our university days. And every night I'd stand by the door, listening to their laughter echo down the hallway, and something inside me would twist. It was dangerous, how natural it all began to feel again. One evening, after putting Eunwoo to bed, I walked into the kitchen to find Do-hyun there, sleeves rolled up, carefully washing the dishes. "You don't have to do that," I said quietly. He looked over his shoulder, smiling faintly. "You're tired. Let me help." I hesitated. "You never used to do chores." He chuckled softly. "I never used to have anything worth doing them for." That simple sentence caught me off guard. I turned away before he could see my face heat up. But as I reached for a towel, I felt his gaze, warm, steady, heavy with all the words he'd never said. I tried to ignore it, but my pulse betrayed me. It had been years, and yet, one look from him still made the air feel too thin. A few nights later, the storm came. Thunder rolled through the city like an angry drumbeat, rattling the window panes. Rain poured so hard it drowned out the sound of my thoughts. Eunwoo was fast asleep in his room, his tiny body curled under the blankets. The lights went out. The apartment was swallowed by darkness, broken only by flashes of lightning through the window. "Stay here," Do-hyun said, his voice calm but firm. He reached for a flashlight from the drawer, its weak beam casting shadows across his face. I tried to act unbothered, but the truth was, storms terrified me. They always had. Maybe because every time thunder roared, it reminded me of the night he left, that same kind of rain, that same suffocating silence afterward. Do-hyun noticed my hands trembling. Without a word, he moved closer. "Jaemin," he said softly. "You're shaking." "I'm fine," I muttered. "No, you're not." His voice was low, rough around the edges. He reached out, and before I could step back, his hand brushed mine. "Steady." The world outside felt like chaos, lightning flashing, thunder booming, but inside, time seemed to hold its breath. "You shouldn't look at me like that," I whispered. "How am I looking at you?" "Like you still." I stopped, biting my lip. "Like nothing happened." He exhaled slowly, eyes searching mine. "Because something did happen. I lost you." My heart stuttered. Then he said it, the truth that had been buried for 3 long years. "I never stopped loving you, Jun." The words hung in the air like static. I blinked, unable to believe what I was hearing. "You, what?" He stepped closer, voice breaking. "I was told you left the country. That you ended the pregnancy. My father said you wanted nothing to do with me." I felt like the floor had been ripped out from under me. "He told you that?" Do-hyun nodded, his eyes glistening. "I hated you for it. I tried not to, but I thought you'd chosen to erase me. It destroyed me, Jimin." I stared at him, the anger and heartbreak flooding back all at once. "So you believed him instead of me? You believed them over your own mate?" He winced. I didn't know what to believe. I was scared, confused, weak. "Exactly," I whispered bitterly. "Weak." He didn't defend himself. He just stood there, rain-soaked light flashing across his face, eyes full of regret. "I know," he said quietly, "and I'll spend the rest of my life proving to you that I'm not that man anymore." Something in his tone, the raw honesty, made my chest ache. Tears blurred my vision. I wanted to hate him, to hold on to the anger that had kept me safe for 3 years. But hearing the truth like this, seeing his pain, his sincerity, it broke through every wall I had left. And before I could stop myself, my hand reached up to touch his face. He froze, eyes wide, breath trembling. But I couldn't say anything. I just let my fingers linger there, tracing the sharp line of his jaw, feeling the warmth of his skin beneath my fingertips, a warmth I'd missed more than I'd ever admit. The thunder cracked again, shaking the window. I flinched, and he instinctively pulled me closer. For a heartbeat, I let him. It felt like coming home and drowning at the same time. But I couldn't allow it. Not yet. I stepped back, wiping my tears. "I can't forgive you," I said quietly. "Not now. Maybe not ever." Do-hyun nodded slowly, his eyes dark with emotion. "I know. But I'll wait. For as long as it takes." The flashlight flickered, and the room plunged into darkness again. That was when I felt a small hand slip between mine and Do-hyun's. We both looked down. Eunwoo had wandered out of his room, half asleep, clutching his stuffed bear. He stood between us, yawning softly, and then, as if guided by instinct, he reached up and took both our hands. His tiny fingers curled around ours, linking us together in the quiet, rain-soaked dark. "Don't fight," he mumbled sleepily. "Stay, both stay." Do-hyun let out a shaky breath. I bit my lip hard, blinking back tears. And just like that, the storm outside no longer felt as terrifying. Because even if my heart didn't trust Do-hyun yet, my soul remembered him. And maybe, just maybe, it was starting to forgive. The morning started like any other. Rain streaked softly against the windows, Eunwoo playing with his little wooden train set, Do-hyun standing in the kitchen making coffee as though he belonged here. I should have felt calm. But my phone buzzing with an unknown number changed everything. It was his family. I froze as I read the message. "We know where you are. Step aside, or we take him. You and your reputation will disappear if you refuse." My heart thumped painfully against my ribs. I swallowed hard. This was the danger I had hoped we'd left behind. The same family that tore us apart 3 years ago, now threatening the life we'd carefully built. Do-hyun noticed my sudden pallor immediately. His sharp gaze narrowed as he approached me. "What is it?" I handed him the phone. His fingers closed around it, reading the threat, and I saw his jaw tighten in a way that reminded me of the old Do-hyun, fierce, unstoppable, unrelenting. "They've found us," I whispered, voice trembling. "They won't take him," Do-hyun said firmly, and the way he said it, steady, unwavering, made my chest ache. "Not ever." I wanted to believe him. But the memories of 3 years ago, the nights of emptiness, the betrayal, the constant fear, made me hesitate. "They nearly destroyed you before," I said quietly. "How can you be so sure this time will be different?" Do-hyun's eyes softened, but there was a fire burning beneath. "Because this time, I'm not afraid of them. This time, I'm not alone. This is my family now, you and Eunwoo, and I will fight anyone who dares to threaten that." That evening, the confrontation came. The Kang family arrived at the apartment, a sleek black car pulling up in the drizzle outside, polished and intimidating as always. They didn't even knock. They just entered, expecting the same fear and compliance I had once seen in Do-hyun's eyes. I stepped forward, instinctively shielding Eunwoo. Do-hyun put a hand on my shoulder. "Stay calm," he murmured. Inside, his mother's gaze was icy. "Do-hyun, this Omega, this child," her words dripped with disdain. "You cannot seriously consider this life for yourself. He is not suitable. He will ruin everything we have built." I felt Eunwoo cling to my leg, and my chest constricted. "Our life is enough," I said softly, though my voice was shaking. "Leave us alone." Do-hyun's father stepped forward, stern and authoritative. "Do-hyun, obey your family. You cannot make decisions for the company based on sentimentality." Do-hyun didn't flinch. He stepped in front of me and Eunwoo, standing tall. "No," he said firmly. "This is my choice. Jaemin and Eunwoo are my family. My home. My life. And if you try to take him, you will leave empty-handed." The tension in the room was unbearable. I had never seen him so resolute, so unshakable. For a moment I felt fear for him, but also awe. Do you even understand what you're doing? His mother snapped. This will destroy your reputation. Do-hyun met her eyes without blinking. Then so be it. Nothing matters more than them. Not money, not status, not even your approval. This is where I belong, here, with my son and my mate. After the confrontation, silence fell over the apartment. The Kong family left without a word. Victory. But the victory felt hollow. The adrenaline, the tension, it left my chest aching. Do-hyun turned to me, his expression softer now. I should have told you all of this before, he admitted. I should have come back sooner. I searched for you for years. But I was lied to. I was told you didn't want me, that you had moved on, that I had no place in your life. My hands trembled as I listened. All this time, you were searching? He nodded, eyes glistening. Every city, every corner of Seoul. I never stopped trying. I wanted to find you. Wanted to see you. To make sure you were safe. I felt my chest tighten. All the anger I had been holding for him, all the betrayal I had been nursing, began to melt. I wanted to be angry. I tried, I really did. But the weight of his sincerity, the years of longing, and the love he still carried for me was impossible to ignore. I started, voice shaking. I thought you didn't care. I thought you left me, and our child. I never left, he whispered. I was trapped by lies, by my family's pressure, by my own fears. But I never left you in my heart. Tears streamed down my face. I tried to step back, to resist the pull of old feelings, but my knees felt weak. Do-hyun. He came closer, gently taking my hand. I love you, Jaemin. And I've loved you every day we were apart. I can't promise to fix the past, but I can promise I'll be here now, forever. I looked at him, the man who had broken me, who had haunted my dreams, and realized that the bond we shared was stronger than time, stronger than fear, stronger than everything that had tried to pull us apart. The next morning, the city was quiet. Sunlight streamed through the curtains, painting the room in soft gold. Eunwoo was awake before us, as usual, and he ran down the hallway with a shout. Daddy! Do-hyun scooped him up in his arms, laughing, spinning him around. I watched, my heart swelling. Eunwoo's laughter filled the apartment, and I realized something I hadn't allowed myself to admit before. We were finally whole. Do-hyun set Eunwoo down gently. He turned to me, eyes soft, full of warmth and unspoken promises. He stepped close and pulled me into his arms. I rested my head against his chest, feeling the steady beat of his heart, the warmth of his body against mine. The past, with all its pain and betrayal, seemed distant now. This time, he whispered, his lips brushing my hairline, I'm never leaving home again. I closed my eyes, letting the words sink into every corner of my soul. I believe you, I whispered back, the weight of years finally lifting. Eunwoo, sensing the peace, wrapped his tiny arms around both of us, linking our hands together. I looked down at him, tears of joy and relief spilling over. We're home, I murmured. And for the first time in years, I truly believed it. No past, no lies, no pressure from the world could break this. Not anymore. Our bond was unshakable. Our love was real. And our family finally was whole. The storm had passed. The rain had cleared. And we were home.